Right, we're now recording.
Okay, thank you. Good evening and welcome to this extraordinary general meeting of Workington Town Council on Wednesday, 10th of February 2021. My name is Councillor Janet King of Stainburn Ward and I shall be chairing the meeting. Can I ask our clerk, Catherine, to go through the meeting etiquette and to do the roll call, please? And will councillors introduce themselves as their name is called? Thanks.
Okay. Meeting etiquette, just to let you know, if you can you make sure that your mute is kept on, just so we don't have any background noise. If you can keep your camera on, that would be great. If we can all speak through the chair and only want to speak at a time. Basic stuff, everybody knows it, but just a little reminder to start off with. So I'll just call everybody's name then. So Councillor Dixon.
Yeah, here.
Councillor Muskelly.
Here.
Thank you. Councillor Sansom.
Here.
Councillor Armstrong.
Councillor Armstrong, good evening, Salterbeck Ward.
Councillor Farrer.
Good evening. Yes, present.
Thank you. Councillor Rollo.
Councillor Rollo, Salterbeck Ward.
Councillor Glaister. Is Jed gone? He was here a minute ago. Oh, there he is. Councillor Glaister, can you? Oh, yeah, he's there. I'll just give him.
Sorry, present.
It's all right. Councillor Briggs, Herbert Briggs.
Yeah, present.
Councillor King, chair him. We've had apologies from Councillor Hunter. Councillor Williams, Linda.
Yeah, present. Councillor Williams, present, I mean.
Thank you. Councillor Heaslip.
Michael Heaslip, present.
Thank you. Councillor Harrington. Councillor Harrington. I can see her head. She's there. Councillor Scott.
Yeah, Paul Scott, present.
Yeah, Councillor Ryan Briggs.
Councillor Ryan Briggs, present.
Councillor Sean Melton.
Councillor Sean Melton, present.
Thank you. Councillor Stoddart.
Yes, I'm present.
Thank you. Councillor Fryer.
Sue Fryer, present.
Councillor Wilkinson.
Well, Wilkinson, present.
Thank you. And we've had apologies from Councillor Bainbridge. That's everybody.
Thank you. Public participation. We have a member of the public and a press representative from the press in attendance. So good evening to you. We haven't any items brought forward, have we, from the public? No? Okay, thank you. Apologies. Receive and accept any apologies.
Yeah, Councillor Bainbridge and Councillor Hunter.
Item 2, declarations of interest. To receive any declarations of interest relating to matters which appear on this agenda, but which have not previously been declared on members' declarations of pecuniary interest and other interests. No? No.
Madam Chair, I am the newly elected Secretary of Finance Allotment Society, which has just come about. Thank you.
Okay. Item 3, exclusion of press and public. Again, I don't think there's any agenda items which anyone should be excluded from. So that takes us straight on to item 4, which is the budget. To receive the proposed budget for 2021-22 and agree the precept for 21-22. So, Councillor Scott.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, as chair of the Finance and General Purpose Committee, I would like to move the 2021-2022 budget. All councillors have had advanced notification of the budget. So I move it. Thank you.
Can we have a seconder, please?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Would you like to speak on the motion, Councillor Scott?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, the budget is agreed by committees and focuses on what each committee believes their key specific area will be in the coming year. While some reporting groups have seen reduction in grant application, all committee members welcome access and activity from community groups. There was no way that we would leave any community groups left out in the cold. Our priority for this year is to focus on our communities, our children's welfare, our old age pensioners, and developing our community links for all of Working. All councillors involved in this meeting should understand fully that it's in a really tough time for everybody in Working. Families suffering from financial difficulty, and I think it's only right that we, as a council, do not increase precept apart from the inflation, and we show them that we are willing to support them and work with them through this financial difficulty. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
We have a councillor, Councillor Briggs, would like to speak.
So are we, right, so we're going on to the debate now. So councillors can speak once on the motion. Sorry, Councillor Briggs.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to reiterate what Councillor Scott has just said. And my view on this is 100% I'm behind it. The people of Working need as much support at the minute as they can. Many are on furlough, which doesn't give them their normal work and wage, and many have suffered job losses. I have no doubt with this crisis that we are going through that there are people out there financially broken. Putting a raise on council tax at this present time is not right, considering the underspend that the council is likely to have. Also, going into the next financial year, we could see town council events sadly scaled down due to government restrictions, or even worse, cancelled, which could, excuse me, which could mean that an underspend for next year's budget too. There's people out there who elected us as councillors struggling, and this council should not add to that struggle by putting a raise on their council tax. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Does anyone wish to speak? No. Does Councillor Scott wish to exercise his right of oh, sorry, Councillor Farrer.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Can I ask questions in relation to the budget that was being circulated?
Certainly can.
There's just a few areas that I'm a bit confused about, which I'm hoping that the chair of F&GP may be able to clarify. In line 85, cell D.
I'm so sorry. Can you say which one it is? Because we haven't got the grid lines on here on the paper.
All right.
Thank you.
It's in the income section, and it has an expected outturn for this year for ABC Park. And I'm confused as to what ABC Park is. It's got an income of 20,213. There is nothing budgeted for the current year, and there's nothing budgeted for future years. So I just want clarification as to what that
May I
relates
just
to.
interrupt and ask Catherine to comment on that, please?
Hi, David. The ABC Park is a car park. If you actually go across under the 2021 figure, it's actually zero. We're not expecting an income in for that this year. The 20,213 is a previous, because we keep the previous lines in. It was a previous expectation that didn't materialise. But for this year, we've got nothing under that, because we can't expect an income if we're not sure when the pandemic's going to finish anyway. So we've got nothing under that.
Which car park is it?
To be honest, David, I don't know which car park it is. I just know that it's a car park income.
Because it's shown as the expected income for 2020 was zero, but the actual or the expected outturn is £20,213.
Expected turnover, it didn't happen. Yeah, it didn't happen because of the pandemic. So the turnover doesn't come to us. It's just something we show.
Right. So that's not actually accurate figures then.
No, it's just that they were the previous expected. It didn't happen. Though that line is the previous expected. It didn't happen.
Right. And you're not expecting to get any income from it going
No,
forward?
we put nothing to realistic. We've got to be realistic about it. We didn't think we'd get anything from that this year.
Okay, and so the estimated outturn, is that the same for each of the previous fields in terms
Sorry,
of the
can you say that
outgoings?
again?
In terms of the expenditure,
Expenditure, yeah.
your estimated outturn for those, which is column D.
No, the income is separate from the expenditure. So the headings under the income for that line are different.
Okay, so the estimated outturns is actually based upon the expenditure so far this year?
So far, yeah, or the expected what we're going to have for this year, yeah.
So the annual meeting, did we have an annual meeting this year?
Hold on, just let me get that out. No, we didn't have one. That would be the annual meeting. As far as I'm aware, we didn't have an annual meeting, I think.
So what's the expenditure of 2,486 in relation to?
I don't know what to be honest, since I've come in, I don't know what that figure relates to, because it's happened, I think, before I actually came in, David.
It's for 2021 next year.
No, that's the 1800. That's what we're expecting for next year's 1800, because we're not sure again. We've actually been told by the regulations that it's not necessary to hold an annual general meeting because of COVID, but it's a choice. We can choose to hold something.
I'm just trying to clarify, if the expected outturn is 2,486, but we haven't had an annual meeting this year, what's actually been spent to date and what's expected?
I'd have to pass that over to Paul, because I think that's prior to my actually coming in. That figure was already there.
Thank you, Catherine.
Sorry,
David, what was it you're asking?
So for the annual meeting, which is, I don't know if you're looking at a printed spreadsheet or if you're looking at the one online, it's column 7D. So
right, all I'm looking at is the proposed 2021 budget. Right,
so on there, on the annual meeting, there is a budget for the current year of 2,750. It's got an estimated outturn of 2,486. Just trying to clarify what's actually been spent to get to an estimated outturn of 2,486 and what's expected to be spent within the current financial year.
I'm still trying to find it. Sorry, David.
So may I come in here on your spreadsheet? It's it's F&GP, third line down, first figure column.
Sorry, can I come back in with that? That's
Yes.
not the figure that's been spent. That's the estimated outturn. Even though we budgeted for 2,750 for the annual general meeting, in 2020, we estimated that we would probably only spend around 2,486, which would be 90% of the budget. But that again isn't what we spent because we didn't have the annual general meeting. So that will be part of the underspend. Sorry, I've just realised what the top was.
So the estimated outturn doesn't actually represent the expenditure in the current
It's just
year.
the estimated. It's not the actual figure. It's the estimation of what we think would be. But that was when they assumed there would be a general meeting when the budget was set last year.
At that point, if we set a budget for 2,750, then our estimated outturn would have been 2,750. Otherwise, why would we set a budget at that level?
The budget, as I say, the budget was set before I got there, David. So I don't know what the actual reasoning was. I can find out for you. I can absolutely find out for you. But I don't know what the reasoning was behind that. They looked at the reason they would spend 90% of what the actual budget was, but I don't know whether there was a reason for that. To be honest, I can find out, but I don't know at this moment in time.
Leave.
And for town hall development, which is line 29, still within the F&GP.
Yeah.
So the budget was 0. The estimated outturn is £1,000. Have we gone £1,000 over? Where's that estimated outturn come from? If your budget was 0, but it's £1,000, and then we've got £1,000 going forward, increasing in future years. So, but I thought we were not looking to have the town hall So why are we doing town hall development?
The town hall will be deemed as Princess Street.
Right. So that's a different premises.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I'll put my hand down, let somebody else have a go.
Oh, thank you very much.
Councillor
Councillor
Armstrong is the next one.
Mhm.
Next councillor.
Just to answer David's question, I'm sure the car park is the one adjacent to the job centre. It's that little one round the back behind the Dandelion. It isn't very big. That was all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Rollo was next.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to say as well, the car park, it is that car park, but I can't understand how it was ever going to make 20,000 when there's only 5 spaces. I don't think it ever made that, so it probably is an unrealistic figure.
Just a bit, yeah. I'll have to have a look at that.
Thank you. Sorry, have you finished, Councillor Rollo? Councillor Cannon?
You're on
Councillor,
mute.
you're on mute.
Cannon.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can.
Right, sorry, I'm trying to keep my screen up with the budget on as well. Can I just make a point? Because this isn't just the budget, it's also headed as the medium-term financial plan. And I take the point about the car park, which I believe we actually probably sell what do you call it, leases to people. I don't think it's one that you come in and go out again. I think it's that people have a space that they rent, I suspect. But on the bit which is medium-term financial plan, there is no forward income for that car park, which then ends up skewing the forward plan. So I'm just flagging that up. And perhaps Paul, who's responsible for that committee, can just keep an eye on that. Yeah. The other thing is, on my Excel spreadsheet, because I'm looking at a spreadsheet, on item 11, there's election fund and elections underneath. And elections has got 0 going forward, and the elections fund, the way I've always understood how we budget for this is we know we face an election, or all-out election, every 4 years. So we put money aside to pay for elections every 4 years. But elections, which almost looks like a rogue item, is something that we used to accept that there'll be by-elections, and you can't predict when they are, but we already know that we have by-elections on the 6th of May, and we haven't budgeted for that at all. And elections this year are going to be expensive. So I'm just a bit concerned that we have not put in an amount for that. And I actually think it's always wise to put an amount aside annually, just in case there is a by-election. And let's face it, with town and parish councils, there often are by-elections. Things happen to people. With a biggish council, people get fed up, that leave, to move the area, whatever. But we haven't budgeted at all for the by-elections that will take place this year, which means you're proposing to dip into the election fund, which is due to pay for the bigger election, a couple of years' time. And that's a concern that needs to be sorted out.
Yeah, thanks for that. I haven't got the figures to hand, but I know we have quite a healthy reserve sitting on that particular budget line. So that's why I do.
Right, well, then can I come back to that? Because I did mention this in previous times. The reserves paper is not in front of us tonight. We did have a paper the last meeting which said what money we have in different balances, but none of those balances showed us what was earmarked as a reserve. And I think it behoves every committee to understand what it is that they have ring-fenced for particular items. And I have raised this before, and it's really important that for transparency, that all councillors and the public can see what's held in a reserve. And I've had this comment made quite a few times that, oh, we've got something in reserve, but you can't actually see it if there isn't a paper to actually say that. So if I can just make another point, which was I brought up the last time on the I can't find Environment Committee when I asked about a bush shelter. And I understand that Salterbeck Residents Association had put £500 towards the bush shelter that we're still waiting to be sorted out by Salterbeck Cemetery. But there is nowhere in any account that we have that I can see that ring-fenced budget which those people put aside for us. And I always say the only thing we actually can see is something called back lanes. And I really think the accounts need to be sorted out so we can see what it is we're talking about. Otherwise, it just looks like we've got a large pot of money that's for our pet projects. And I think we should be clear that council's made very clear decisions about things and in previous years and said we put money aside for that. But we can't see it going forward. And it's really important that we do. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Catherine?
Sorry, I just wanted to come in to say that I will absolutely make that available to you. If you would like that, I can send that. I can speak to Judith and we can have those figures out to you tomorrow. They're there. I'm quite happy to send them out to everybody if that's what you wish.
Yeah, that's right. But the point I'm making is,
I understand. Yeah, I understand the point you're making, but
this is the budget meeting of the council, and I'm not blaming you, by the way, Catherine, because this is something that we need to look more professional and get these papers out. I did complain at to the last town clerk that he kept saying it was a pot of money for something, and I've yet to find this pot of money. We've got unicorns around the place. We put some money back that night, but I know it's there and it's probably in the reserves. And it also comes back to what I said the last time. It's really important when we're setting a budget. We're not just setting a precept, we're setting a budget. And the whole town needs to see how we manage the reserves. So, for example, the reserves, we get an outturn every June. We have to be able to say we have to hold a certain amount back because they're ring fenced. We have to hold an amount back just in case something happened to the council. And it happens, Allerdale's finance officer every year says, I'm keeping a percentage back just in case. And that should be highlighted as not available to spend. And I'd just like to see all of this stuff sorted out so that we have a professional look here. And I've asked before endlessly, and I'd like to put it on record this time that I'd like to see it. But Town Clerk, this is not just about sending something out to us tomorrow. We need to see this as a council in proper papers, and I'm sure it would help every single committee chair to be able to see a bit of paper at each meeting which says this is what's in this year's budget and that's what you have ring fenced for projects going forward. And that would help as well with forward planning and the medium-term financial plan.
If I can just come back on that, we are actually working on exactly that with regards to work programme and that the money that's ring fenced from each reserve, and we are actually working on that as we speak. Yeah,
but it's a budget meeting, councillor. We haven't got it yet. I just think that I understand that, and I suspect I don't understand how the district auditor marries all these things up, but I think you should, make sure that this is done right away. I am concerned that money has been given to the council or ring-fenced and it's been lost into a pocket or just shoved into back lanes because people have forgotten about it.
I can assure you that Judith does a fantastic job, and our audit.
This is not about our staff. This is about us.
Yeah.
right? This is about councillors being on the ball and being prepared to sort this out. And I think that it would be handy even to have some kind of action plan for each committee. So when you've got an action, you can tick it off when it's being done. You know it's done.
That is our work programme that we're on.
But we need to see it in writing, councillor. Okay, we've got to be professional. Thank you.
Come back to
Councillor Farrer's got his hand up now.
Turn it down.
Oh, hello. Sorry, me again. Again, I'm confused about Workington in Bloom. Is the second one in environment development grants. It has, I'm going to go back to this year again. It's got £2,000 and then the expected outturn was 1,600, but that's is down as 0.46% or 0.4, so 46%. So why is 46% of 2,000 equal to 1,600?
No, that's not a percentage figure. To be honest, these are previous figures, Dave. These are what
But then
I haven't worked from that line. I've worked from the actual figures. I'm sorry, I should have just taken that whole line completely out if it's confusing.
And then if we go on to G, again, it's got 0.86% or 86%, sorry, 0.86, 86%, but it's gone from a budget of 2,000 to 3,000. So surely that should be 1.5.
Sorry, when you say G, can you just tell me what it is? Because I've got it written.
All right, Workington in Bloom, it's going from £2,000 budget this year
that one.
to £3,000 next year.
Yeah.
And the increase it shows as a decrease of 14% next to it.
Hold on, I've got my pieces of paper there.
It says 0.86.
That's under column which says percent of 2019 budget.
I'm assuming that should be 2020. I'm assuming that should be 2020.
Yeah, I've got it. Again, that's not right. No, I should have took the columns out, to be honest, because they don't represent anything, to be honest. I've worked from last year's and put our figures in, and I think I should have just got rid of half the stuff that was there, because I think it's just a misleading, to be honest. I do apologise. I will take those out.
I think the cell above it has also got a similar issue because it's gone from 15,000.
Yeah,
so it's got about 10, just over 10%.
Yeah.
And again, the one beneath, which is going from 10,000 to 41,000, it says 1.5.
Yeah.
So that there again is inaccurate.
Yeah.
Because the other thing I've got concerned about is parks and play areas. So we have a budget for the current year of 41,000, and for next year we're going for a budget of 15,000. So that's a decrease of £26,000, which is quite it's parks and play areas maintenance.
Yeah, if you actually look at the play area development, we've realised that actually play area development is where the budget needs to be. The bit where the play areas maintenance is just maintaining that. The actual play area development is where we would spend the money actually buying equipment and pieces of sort of play area equipment for children. So that's why the budgets have been turned around. I felt they were in the wrong place.
Right. So in terms of the development, which is buying the new equipment, that's increased from 10,000 up to 41,000.
Yeah.
And it will be ongoing after year after that. So that's wonderful that we're buying new play areas.
Getting new play area equipment, that would be.
And getting new equipment into the play areas, and I think that's wonderful. But you're cutting the maintenance. So if you have more equipment, is that not going to have a knock-on effect for the maintenance costs?
The maintenance costs aren't that much, to be honest, on the play area equipment. It's actually really quite robust. We pull for any equipment that we've actually got at the moment. Actually, most of it's okay. We've only got small areas that need maintenance. To be honest, the ones that are in an issue need to be replaced rather than maintained. That's why there's such a big budget there. They haven't got to the point where we can just continue to maintain they need replaced.
Right. I've just got one more question. So in terms of the precept, yeah, the precepts being the council tax charge per property is being frozen at the current rates. Now, in terms of your ongoing budget, so your budget seems to have dropped down from last week, the figures last week. For the first year, it means that it'll be £39,795, which I'm assuming is coming out of reserves to kind of keep.
What figure are you looking at there, please?
I'm looking at, we've got 56,050 for the precept.
Oh, the 560,000, yeah.
Yes. So for 2021.
Yeah.
So, and the total for the budget is 597,500. Now, in the meeting last week, the amount instead of 597,500 was 637,295.
Sorry, David, if you actually look up where it says the total for all of the budgets is actually on the next bit up, highlighted, it's 660,843.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the total. Then the precept income, the total with the precept and the income is the 597,500, and then the reserve draw is what will take it up to the 66843.
Yeah, but if I finish with my question, yeah, so it's decreased from last week, the meeting we had last week, which had the total. So the total's decreased by £40,000 for the current year, which will be offset by a draw on reserves, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
The next year it will decrease by 43,000. The year after it'll decrease by 47,000. The year after it'll decrease by 51,000. Are these all being met from reserves?
Their estimates, we don't think we would actually go into reserves that deeply with the figures that we stand. If we went exactly the way we were and we kept the precept as it was, then we would. But we, you know, whether or not you want to increase the precept next year, then it would change that figure. This is just if we kept the precept at the same rate.
It would have an impact of over £180,000. How much do we have in reserves?
Now, to be honest, the chances of it staying like this would probably be quite slim. But that's what the estimate is if we kept the precept at the same rate.
Which next year it probably wouldn't be at the same rate, would it?
Yeah.
Okay. Can we proceed to the vote? Oh, sorry, did you want to like to? There's supposed to be one question per councillor, but I'll take one last from Councillor Rollo then.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Scott, if the outturn is incorrect on the budget, how can we be sure of what's going forward?
Sorry, I missed that.
Well, we've just gone through all those, and the estimated outturn all seem to be incorrect. So how can we look at, going forward?
I don't think the outcome is incorrect.
There were estimates from what I believe.
Like so if you look at the play area, then those two figures where it's £41,000.
Yeah.
So are we saying that £41,000 was spent this year, bearing in mind the budget lines have changed?
So the play area development are you talking about, Denise?
Yeah, the two that seem to have switched.
Yeah. Sorry, can you say that again? Ask the question again.
What's the actual spend?
Well, the spend, we won't know the spend until the end of next month. The actual spend, the estimates are there, but we won't know the actual till the end of next month. Do you mean for this year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we won't know them till then.
Right. Thank you.
Councillor Heaslip.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Picking up on something that Councillor Cannon has said, it's important that the people of Workington can see what's being done in their name. And I recall having a look at the website where the details of this meeting were published, and there was the agenda published, but not the budget papers. So the people of Workington, unless they've got hold of those budget papers somehow, don't know what we're talking about, and could arguably say that this is all being done behind closed doors and secret because the information has not been publicly shared. So that's my first concern about the.
May I interrupt you? I think Catherine wants to come in there.
Budget's on the website. Councillor Heaslip, it was put there the other day. It's definitely there.
Right, it may be there now, but it wasn't there when I looked over the weekend when the original papers were published. So that's good. Okay, I want to then pick up on something that Councillor Farrer said. The estimated outturn figures, as I think Councillor Roller also mentioned, seem to be a complete mess and completely inaccurate. We have the budget figure for 2020. That was the estimate, budget estimates, that's what they're called. At the time of the original making of the budget for 2020, were those figures in that first column. For example, as Councillor Farrer said, £2,750 for the annual meeting. And then we've got an estimated outturn figure. And just to be clear, what that means is the Finance and General Purposes Committee, in presenting these budget papers to us, is telling us that their estimate at the moment of the outturn for 2021 on the annual meeting will be £2,486, which, as we haven't had an annual meeting and aren't going to have an annual meeting, is completely incorrect. Looking down that same column, we could look at festivals, where the original outturn estimated by the budget was 30,000. And the Finance and General Purposes Committee in these papers are telling us that the estimated outturn, their current estimated outturn for this year, is £30,000. One could go down the list of heritage projects where the estimated outturn is £10,000, and family fun days where the estimated outturn is £10,000. And all these figures are completely inaccurate, which makes it impossible for us to assess what the estimated outturn at the end of the financial year will be.
Can I bring Catherine in here, please?
Well, do you mind if I finish?
Well, I think she needs to counter some of the things that you're saying.
Okay. But I'm addressing my comments and questions to the Chair of the Finance and General Purposes Committee, not to the Town Clerk. These are the Finance and General Purposes Committee figures, not the Town Clerk's figures. The Town Clerk just does what their Finance and General Purposes Committee approved. These are the F&GP figures which I'm questioning.
So what you're saying?
I'll pause there for a moment if you want.
So what you're saying is the festival should have spent 30,000, and we still couldn't have 30,000 there that goes into reserve.
What you're saying is, Paul, that your estimate as the Finance and General Purposes Committee is that by the 31st of March, expenditure on the festival's budget line will be £30,000, which is completely fantasy, completely off the wall. Similarly with family fun days, £10,000, completely off the wall. Annual meeting, £2,486, a completely false figure. So the total outturn figures that we're asked to base our perception of what the budget next year should be are completely incorrect, completely off the wall.
May I come in here? Those figures you're looking at are the budget figures. From what Catherine said, they were the budgeted figures. They're not the actuals.
Well, I think there may be a misunderstanding here then. The column headed 2020 is the budgeted figure. That's the estimated outturn for the year at the time the budget was presented. That's what it means. The next column is the estimated outturn. That's the estimated outturn at the moment. That's what the Finance and General Purposes Committee is telling us. Its estimated outturn at the 31st of March will be. Now, it's current estimate, and they're completely wrong. Can I move on to the next point? Again, on that, the ABC part.
Can we just clarify that?
Yeah.
Can I just come in for a second, please? Well, to start us off with, they're under the culture budget, not the FG&P budget, the festivals and the days and stuff out. Those budget lines, the estimated ones, were ones that were set. I can't put in there, even though I know we haven't spent anything like that on festivals, I haven't updated that column because it's not the end of the year to say that we've done. Now, I appreciate now what you're saying, that you would expect them to be updated at this point. To be honest, Michael, I left them because it's not the end, and the estimation doesn't matter what I estimate at the moment, because things are just all the actual things are not happening. So now I appreciate what you're saying about them. But when I actually wrote this budget, to me, it was a case of we can estimate as much as we want. We won't know till the end. So I appreciate what you're saying. I completely appreciate it. And, you know, but at the end of the day, it does not affect what this year's budget is.
Well, it does, Madam Mayor, because in setting the budget, we need to have a realistic estimate of what the outturn figure will be. That's what that column is for. Estimated outturn means what we think it will be at the end of the year. The estimate at the start of the year is what we put in the budget, and what we're required to do as we go through the year is update the forecast figure, so that we're in a position to manage our finances across the year. It looks as if F&GP hasn't done that. If I pick up another point on that ABC Park issue, we've got a budget figure. Budgeted income in 2020 was nil. The estimated outturn figure there is 20,213. Now, it's already been pointed out that that's completely impossible. But then that 20,213 again, we've been asked to formulate judgments on making a budget with an estimated outturn income figure for that car park of £20,000, which throws the figures completely out.
I think we're not actually asking you to do that, because the figures we're looking at are in the column for 2021, not for the outturn for 2020. So the forthcoming year is 2021.
But we are part of the basis of part of the information on which we form a judgment on behalf of the residents of Workington as guardians of their council taxpayers' money is what is our current financial situation as of today. And we don't know, because the figures that have been presented by the Finance and General Purposes Committee are completely inaccurate.
Can I point out, we're not discussing the accounts for the current year, we're discussing the budget for next year, which is a different thing.
Madam Mayor, the accounts for this year, the estimate accounts for this year, are an essential part of the budget making process for any local authority. That's what we're here to do. Make a judgment on that and set our budget for next year accordingly. If we don't have an estimate of how much we're going to spend next year, what basis do we have for forming a judgment as to whether the budget figures we're proposing for next year make sense or not? We don't, because we don't have the information.
But can I also point out that this year is very different because it's COVID. We have no idea what's going to happen, and this is a best guess for anyone as to what money we're going to spend.
I can't agree that an expenditure of £30,000 on festivals, for example, for this year is a best guess at the moment. The best guess at the moment is nothing. And it's not a guess.
This coming year is 2021. Which is
the figures we've got in here for the festival expenditure this year are £30,000, which is completely wrong. So if we've got completely wrong figures in front of us, how can we make any kind of estimate on what it will be next year? I come then to the issue of the reserve draw. We're asked to draw £63,342 for reserves, but we have no information in front of us, and the people of Workington looking at the figures have no information in front of them as to whether there is or is not £63,342 in reserves. So without seeing the reserve figures, it's not possible to approve a budget that draws £63,342 from reserves when we don't have any figure in front of us as to how much is actually in reserves. I make a further point. We discussed last time the issue of the £50,000 that was allocated for the town hall. It's neither in next year's budget.
It will be completed in this year's budget, Councillor Easton.
It's not in this year's estimate, though, because it's not in this year's budget. There is no budget line for that which contains £50,000. There might have been, possibly, if you were going to do the figures correctly, there might have been a figure of £50,000 in the town hall development estimated outcome, because if we estimated that we're going to spend £50,000 this year, then there should be £50,000 in the estimated outcome figure for town hall development, which will therefore affect the amount that falls into reserves at the end of the year, which will therefore affect the amount we can consider as the possibility for drawing down from the reserves budget if we had a reserves figure in front of us. We don't have a reserves figure in front of us, so on that basis, Madam Mayor, on the basis of the estimated outturned figures which have been presented to us, which are completely inaccurate from the Finance and General Purposes Committee, on the fact that we don't have any reserve figures in front of us on which to make a judgment as to whether we can draw from reserves, on the basis that there's £50,000 for the town hall, which appears neither in the estimated outturn for this year nor in the budget for next year, and yet is, we know, a committed expenditure.
But the £50,000 is not a revenue expenditure, it's capital. Therefore, it won't show in the income and expenditure account.
Madam Mayor, in a town council budget, there is no such thing as revenue and capital. Even if it is capital, it is being spent in this year and has to be shown in the budget for this year. That's how you do local authority budgets. If nobody in the F&GP committee understands that, well, we did offer to help, but of course that was
I doubt it.
refused.
That wasn't ever offered.
But if the well, you could invite us to help by inviting us to join the F&GP committee, where our knowledge and expertise could be of use.
Thank you very much for all your comments. Can I?
On the basis of the figures that we've been presented, there's no way that I or my colleagues can possibly support such a hopelessly inaccurate set of budget figures. It would be a dereliction of our duty to our citizens to approve a budget on the basis of these wrong figures.
Thank you. That's your opinion. Thank you. I'm not taking any more questions. Can I go to, does Councillor Scott want to write a reply on that, please?
I just thought it was a proposed budget and I would rather get voted on the proposed budget. Thank you.
Okay. So can we take a vote on the proposed budget then, please?
Okay, I'll call your name and if you can just tell me whether you're for, against or you abstain. Councillor Dixon?
Sorry, I couldn't find thing. I can't support this budget, so I'm against.
Councillor Muskelly?
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry you wouldn't have let me speak, but
sorry, are you voting for or against, please, Councillor Muskelly?
Right, I'm sorry you wouldn't let me speak.
Are you voting for or against, please?
I'm sorry you wouldn't let me speak. So I'm afraid my answer is going to have to be, I can't possibly vote for a budget that appears to be written on the back of the packet by Mickey Mouse.
Okay. Is that against?
Can you mute that phone, please?
Yes, is
Yes,
that
it's against.
Councillor Glaister, please?
Councillor Sansom,
For.
Councillor Armstrong,
She's waving.
okay, thanks Carol. Councillor Farrer,
Whilst I fully support the idea of freezing the council tax, I don't believe that the figures that have been provided are accurate, and therefore I have no alternative but to vote against it, because it would be a dereliction of my duty to do otherwise.
thank you. Councillor Rollo,
Yeah, I can't support when the figures are inaccurate and we haven't had the full figures, so I'll have to say no.
Councillor Glaister,
100% yes.
Councillor Herbert-Briggs,
Yes, totally for it.
Councillor King,
For.
Councillor Williams, Linda,
I think she's actually left.
has she gone? Okay. Councillor Heaslip,
Against.
Councillor Hilary Harrington, Councillor Scott,
For.
Councillor Ryan Briggs,
Thanks, Catherine. I'm for.
thank you. Councillor Melton,
Against.
okay. Councillor Stoddart,
For.
Councillor Fryer,
Thanks, Catherine, against.
okay, and Councillor Wilkinson.
For.
Thank you.
You haven't asked me.
Oh, sorry.
Do I not exist anymore?
How dare you, Catherine?
I am.
Oh.
I apologise profusely. I do apologise. Councillor Cannon.
It's not the first time. I'm voting against for the reasons that were stated.
Okay.
And can I just say that I'm sorry that this has been your first meeting as a budget, but I would sincerely hope that going forward the committee chairs make sure a budget is presented that is proper, because it's their responsibility to do that, not yours.
Thank you. Okay, the fours have it 9-8.
Okay, the motion's passed. Thank you all. The meeting's now closed. Thank you all very much for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.